Hello everyone, in this lesson we're going to create the wing. We're going to model the wing and I'm using the O7 Start and I'm going to go to the top view if you're not already there. And I'm going to go out here because the wing is pretty, it's not terribly difficult, but it's also going to be, it's something we can get to play with a couple of tools here that work really well. And I'm going to turn on X-ray and I'm going to note how many divisions I'm going to have to work with, because that's going to determine a lot about the plane I'm going to create. Now, I can always add divisions, and that's important, especially around the outside. So I want to keep that in mind. Right now, if I am looking at this, actually, let me turn off X-ray. I've got 1, 2, 3, and 4. We'll go with 4 divisions here. I can add more. So I'm going to grab my cut tool, or my multi-cut tool, and I'll add one here and a division here. That should do it. Because what I'm going to wind up doing, I'll make this the right view. What I'm going to wind up doing is I'm going to wind up extruding down and making this making this shape here right along in here, right along the center. That's going to be the object we're going to be using. Now, to do this, like I said, we're going to use a plane. So I'm going to grab a polygon plane and I'm going to move it over into this area here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to do my width, and I'm going to expand my width and my height. Width might be a little much. Now, next question is going to be, well, how many divisions do I really need? And the answer is I'm going to go 5. I'm also going to turn on wireframe on shaded so that I can see. Oops, did I miss? I used default material. Nope. Don't want to do that. Want to do wireframe on shaded. There we go. And so that I can see how many divisions I'm going to need. Okay, now they don't have to all be perfectly matched up, but I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. That looks about right. So I'll go with that. I'll move this over and I'll change my width a little bit more so that it lines up with the edge there. Now, I don't need as many divisions going widthwise, so I'll maybe pull that in like so. All right, so now I've got my, and again, we can always add. We can't ever forget that we can always add this stuff. So I can also, I'm going to go ahead and move this down where it's at, about right there. All right, now, let's go ahead and round this off, and now I'm going to go to X-ray. And probably the easiest way to round this off is to do like we did before, which is with our target weld tool. Go to vertex here and just weld them like so. Okay. And then I'm going to grab that vertex and move it in. And you can see the progress that you're making by pressing the 3 key. And that, of course, smooths that of course gives us our smooth preview. Now, the smooth preview is important. Not as an end in itself, but as what it really is, which is a preview of what this will look like when we finally add our divisions here to the final model. All right, I'm going to match this up fairly closely with my drawing. I don't know, the 1. Now, just to show you what that looks like, first thing I'm going to do is I'll delete history, and then I will go and I will smooth it. I'll go to Mesh Smooth. And you can see that that does a pretty good job of approximating what that smoothing operation looks like. Okay, now to get rid of that, you can always undo, or you can make your division 0 and then delete history. Okay, that's the easiest way to do this. All right, now the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to use our good friend the lattice. Why am I going to use the lattice? Well, I could move edges and I could do all of that, but the fact is it's a lot easier to go with the lattice. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and make a lattice. Go to Deform. Missed. Go to Deform Lattice. And then I'm going to give it, which is, nope, not T divisions, because it's a very thin lattice. Okay, not that one, not yet. We'll do that one next. We'll go U divisions. There we go. We'll go about right there. Okay, so that gives us a lattice. Now I can go to my lattice points, and then I can take and grab these lattices and just move them down, and they will conform pretty closely. If I want to, I can move this over like so. And they'll conform pretty closely to our drawing. If I need more, a little bit softer edge, I can do that by changing, remember, our local influence. And go to maybe 4, and that will smooth it out, and we can do that. When I'm done, go to Object Mode and click on my wing and delete history. Okay, so with that done, what we've basically created is we've created a shape. Actually, I want to go to the front view. Okay, now what I've got here is it's at an angle, but I don't want to do the angle just yet. Okay, I don't want to do the angle just yet. I want to wait. I can, if I want to give this a little bit of roundness, I can go back in and make another lattice. It's perfectly fine. And this lattice, I will give more divisions, not there. I'll do that. I'll do a 4 by 2 by 2. Go to lattice point and pull that down. Maybe pull this up just a touch. Again, this is really a question of personal taste. You can grab that and maybe make it a little rounder. Okay, so with that done, again, that's how you create that is up to you. Okay, and we'll delete history. All right, so now what we're going to do, we're going to do something a little different to do this particular part. I'm going to move my pivot point down so that's kind of right in the middle here. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to duplicate this. All right, I'm going to duplicate it, and then I'm going to scale it to -1 and y. Now, if that makes it a little too large, I can move this up. Now, what it's doing is it's going to give me a little bit more flexibility in how I build and how I, basically build this wing. So I'll go to shading and I'll turn off X-ray, and I'll see that my normals, because I'm using the viewport 2, my normals are reversed. So I'm going to go to mesh display, and I'm going to reverse my normals. And now, make sure of this the way you can make sure of it is, nope, do that again. There we go. There. So I'll grab this wing. Actually, I'll grab both of these and delete history. And I'm also going to modify freeze transformations just to zero everything out and make sure everything's right. All right, so now that I know I've got these set up, what I'm going to do next is I'm going to combine these two. So I'm going to go to mesh combine, and that makes one. That may basically make one puts them under one shape node. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the bridge command, which is right up here. I'm going to use the bridge command to bridge the gap between these two pieces. I'm going to leave this part of the wing open because I'm going to do that on a later lesson. But the way I'm going to do this, I'm going to click 1 here, hold down my shift key, and double click here, and it goes around. Of course, it goes around the opposite side because it's going to pick the shortest way. So if that's the case, then I'm just going to select all the way around, like so. And then I'm going to do the same thing, whoops, for the bottom. Select the edges in exactly the same order, because that's what the bridge command requires. I'll tell you the truth. Oops. All right, you know what? I'm going to do it this way. I'm going to try this. Just double click to select the edges, and then I'm going to double click there to select those edges, and go to my bridge. And there we go. Now it defaults to 5. I'm just going to put 2. Actually, I'm going to put 1. Excuse me, because that's really all I need. Okay. Now I've gone all the way around. I'm going to go ahead for just momentarily. I'm going to go to show, isolate, select, view selected, and I'm going to delete these edges, or these faces, excuse me. Because like I said, I'm going to wind up using this later. I'm going to create this when I'm actually going to use the mortise in the wing, in the body to do this. So I'll just delete these for now. Okay. And once I've done that, I'll go back to show, isolate, select, view selected. There's my wing, the last thing I'm going to do is I'll go to the front view, and instead of rotating the whole wing, what I'm going to do instead is take the vertices, grab the vertices, hit E, press D, and just move this over to about right in here, and then I'm going to rotate these vertices up, and there's my wing. Okay. And with that, we've pretty much done the wing. In the next lesson, what we're going to do is we're going to make the wing attachment to the body, and then we will connect it up and make it look, basically we'll do our first mortise.